because I remember I couldn't look at your face. I just thought,
Jerk.
Dang it. Oh, that's recorded. That's recorded too.
I was recording. Yeah. Sorry.
You're recording already?
Yeah. Well, I hit record
the
when he was
Jacobsons.
insulting
Leah's
me.
stuffing chocolate into her
That's
mouth.
a cherry. It's a bourbon cherry.
Oh, it's a cherry. Okay.
Hey, Josh.
How's it going, Nick?
Good.
Hey, Kevin.
Oh, you guys, thanks for joining. Thanks for being on.
Yeah, our pleasure.
Oh, all right.
What else do we have to do?
Okay.
I
So
don't usually mix it.
You don't have to
I
do
was told it was
anything.
an
We want.
old-fashioned thing, so I made an old.
It is an
There you go.
old-fashioned thing. I mean, I'm going to take this moment to welcome everybody who's watching to Old Fashioned Catholics. I'm Kevin.
We starting already?
I'm
we
Nick.
just start?
We're saying stop talking.
Okay.
Why are you interrupting our intro?
Unless we ask you a question, you just back off. All right, Leah? Okay.
We only have 2 questions for you
Wow.
for the whole night.
Okay,
All
all
right.
right.
You got to fill a lot of time.
Gosh.
Let them talk to me like that.
All right.
What am I
Yeah.
gonna do?
We're not cutting.
Internet
We are
voice.
not
Josh is
cutting
like, yeah,
any of
well, you
this out.
shouldn't have
Yeah.
spoken, Leah. That's what he's
Fair
saying.
rule.
Logic.
Yeah, if they're in the room.
Yeah.
If this is your first time tuning into our show, what Nick and I like to do is get together as friends and talk about topics that are relevant to us and interview people that we find interesting. And our guests tonight are no exception. But we like to do that while sipping typically old fashions. We will put what we're drinking tonight up on the screen as well as our guests. If you would like to join along with us, we find it is best enjoyed with a drink in hand, alcoholic or non, doesn't matter to us, but you can pause it now. All right.
We're back. So Kevin.
Nick, you should introduce our guests now that we've thrown them under the bus a few times.
Oh, okay. I was gonna make them wait a little longer. That's fine. That's cool. Okay. So I don't have. I didn't have time to put together a little bio about these two, but they're gonna tell you about themselves. But we have Leah and Josh Jacobson here tonight. They're joining us. They are old friends of us, and that's all you need to know for right now, because we'll talk about what they do in a little bit. Hi, Leah. Hi, Josh.
Hi, guys.
Hello.
Hey.
Hi.
Okay, so we only have 2 questions that we ask our guests, and I'll start with asking Kevin. No, Kevin, you look like you're over here, but you're actually over here when we hit record. You're over here, right?
No, you had it right.
I know, but then whenever it comes out, it's always the wrong way, and I'm always looking off. Anyway,
I guess we'll find out.
So Kevin, what are you
She's
drinking?
over there.
Oh yeah, you guys are down here.
Yeah.
Oh, you're down here for us.
Oh,
Okay.
weird.
See, it's different.
So Josh, Lee, and Nick, I am drinking a brandy old fashioned, which Nick introduced me to, but he didn't know it. And I use maple syrup instead of simple syrup for my sweetener, and it is delicious. So I call it the Northwoods old fashioned because of the maple syrup. It's my own thing.
Nice.
How about you,
I like
Nick?
that.
Okay, so I'm really, really local right now. We bought. So I once in a while I copy Kevin and I'll do Northwoods. I'll use maple syrup. And so this family in Saum, Saum, I don't know, right here, Saum syrup. We bought some of those because their granddaughter does Esther's hair, all the braids and stuff like that. And so if you notice right here, the spout is massive. And so there's a reason that my drink is so dark right now. It's because I held it over the glass and went, and it was, like 6 tablespoons came out. I was like,
You were thinking it was gonna be like honey, nice and
yeah,
slow.
it would take its time. And then I'm also local because somebody bought me a bottle of the local bourbon from Cantilever in Rainier. So I'm really, really
Jeez.
local. Yeah.
So that's a locally made bourbon.
Yeah, and I'll be honest, it's really, really good. It's better than like Woodford Reserve or any of like maybe some of the top shelf stuff. That it's really good. So
Where's that distillery? Where is it?
right here in town, it's or well, like it's in this little small town. The town is like a corner, like it's where a road meets another road. But they have this boutique hotel, and they have gin, vodka, and bourbon that they do. I haven't looked up their story, but bourbon takes like 7 years to be ready. So I'm not sure. They just opened last year, but it's really, really good stuff. So
Amazing.
Josh, Leah, what are you guys drinking?
Well, we are not alcohol snobs. Like, I actually had to go to the liquor store because we had like 0 of the ingredients.
That's okay.
So I grabbed you. What did I grab you?
Yeah, I have a whiskey Manhattan with bourbon cherries and some clementine peel and simple syrup in there. And it so far is good.
We're not drink snobs like you
We're
guys.
not.
Come on.
No, we're not. We're totally
That was
not.
a fancy sounding drink,
You
Josh.
just said it like it was on a show or something. That was awesome.
Well, she looked up the recipe like 30 minutes
No, I
ago.
put it out on Facebook. I put it out on Facebook. Like, anybody got a recipe?
Did you really? That's awesome.
And then I went to the liquor store and I pulled up the recipe.
That's
So
awesome.
that's what happened.
All right.
I don't like whiskey, so I am actually drinking a Cuban mojito.
Those are good.
Ooh,
I love
excellent.
mojitos. That's my choice, mojitos. But I did take one of his bourbon cherries because those are just really good.
Yeah, they're super tasty.
So are they just cherry soaked in bourbon like it sounds like?
Evidently, like very good bourbon cherries. So I'm very excited about my cherry mojito, which is technically not cool, I guess. I don't think you're supposed to put bourbon in mojitos, but
you can do what you want.
yeah, you do what you want.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Of course. There's no rules. Isn't that a thing that college licentious delinquents do, where they will soak fruit in alcohol and call it a wop?
Isn't that a wop? Yeah. That's a wop.
Yeah.
I'm having a wop.
I've never heard of that before.
What?
It's called a wop, Nick.
Mm-mm.
It's a wop. You just throw in a fruit salad with a bunch of liquor.
Okay.
Yeah.
Huh, I've never heard of that.
Small towns, they make them in plastic stock tanks.
Yep. You put, yep. For your graduation party in a small town, that's how you make your wop.
Oh my god.
That is bare bones.
I've seen people like cut a hole in a watermelon and then pour like bottles of vodka into the watermelon and stuff, but is that a wop?
That's a one fruit wop. That's not really real.
Okay. I
Couldn't
don't
tell you.
Yeah, a wop is the other way around, Nick.
That's a watermelon slush, I think.
Okay.
A wop's the other way around. You cut up the fruit and soak it in the alcohol, and then you eat the fruit.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
know.
but you're about 20 years too old for it, buddy.
I know. I feel like
Yeah,
that.
sorry.
I'm going to get into this WAP thing. This is going to be awesome. Oh
Do you want to
my
play some beer pong?
gosh. Which I've never done. Hey, okay. Have you played beer pong?
Nope.
No.
No.
Oh, okay.
No. Josh looks like a guy
Josh
who has.
looks so guilty.
Not until after college at a friend's house, probably like a year ago, just for fun.
Like really responsibly
That's
with a bunch
awesome.
of dads.
It was
Yeah.
a 40th birthday party.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Did
It
you
was
guys
so
rollerblade after?
controlled.
I know, so good. Nothing got out of hand. We had good aim. It was wonderful. So awesome.
Yep.
Okay, so
watched.
the other question that we ask people, and we mean it honestly, sincerely, without reservation and without qualifying anything, just truly, how was your day?
Oh, thanks for asking. How was your day?
Well, I feel like you should start.
Oh, wow. Busy. It was the last day of school today. So
Oh,
we had a half day of school for the kids and they were all home by noon. And so thus began summer vacation and me realizing I need to get them in multiple activities. I had my first afternoon with them and he came home from work about 5 hours later. I was like, we're signing them up for everything.
That's awesome. It's horrible. It's like immediately
So-
horrible.
what
then
were your kids getting into between noon and 5 that just like
Everything. Each other's business. They get into each other's business is what they get into. And they just get, I don't know. I think they were tired. I think that's what it was. So
Yeah, bedtimes have been later lately because
Yeah.
sun's out longer, and so it's 8 o'clock, and you say, "Hey guys, it's bedtime," and they're like, No, it can't be. So
So
there's
how
that
many,
struggle.
how many kids do you guys have?
7.
There's 7? Yeah, 7.
Last we counted, there were 7.
That's awesome.
I think that's all we have still. Although I will say today was my first taste of the neighborhood as well, because school got out. And so
Okay.
all the circling children around the block
Yeah,
were.
kids cruise around and they look for a yard with other kids. And so they start trickling in.
Do you guys, are
Really?
you guys in? Oh, good.
Did that happen? Like the kids just kind of find each other? Like when we were kids, you just found kids in the
It
neighborhood?
happens in our neighborhood. It does. Yeah.
Yeah, we're in small town Minnesota, our actual town is only about 500 people. And then the town next door is about 3,000 people. So under 4,000 souls live in this little metropolis in central Minnesota. And it definitely has a throwback to the 80s kind of feel.
Yeah.
Like children roam wild.
And you do see kids riding their bikes with cell phones and falling off the sidewalk and stuff too, but they're riding their bikes.
Which is entertaining. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, where we
It
lived in
is.
St. Cloud for the 3 years prior to coming here, it felt like the 50s. It was, we were like 90 seconds from noise, but for some reason it was just quiet and peaceful, and it was all families. And they would, like, in the summers, they decide which house they wanted to eat lunch at, and it would just be this roving pack of kids that might end up at your place for a meal. And it was so awesome. It was great. It was kind of creepy though too. I remember when we first moved there, we moved there from New York City, and we had a fence, and my neighbor, Josh, he's not watching, but if he were watching, he would like lean an elbow on the fence and be like, "Hey there, buddy, you want a beer?" And we would stand there and talk over the fence. And it just felt so fake that when we would get done, every time for like the first year, when I would walk away, I would just like mutter in a Russian accent, because I felt like maybe a Russian spy, like in like, fake America. I would just say, "You will die," because it felt that way. You will die. Eventually he will die. It felt so fake, but the kids really, really loved it, because that's a pretty rare thing, I guess. But yeah.
No, we learned right away that a couple of years ago after moving here, we have to keep our popsicle supply very high.
Okay.
Otherwise they'll dig through the freezer. So
Well, the little ones will come through the dog door when we're not even home and get popsicles sometimes.
Wow.
That's awesome.
Your neighbor said one time he was looking for his toddler, and he was frantically running around because he had just seen him. And then he is wandering around, and he looks and he sees him come out of our dog door with a freezy hanging out of his mouth.
And you guys weren't even around?
you
We
weren't
weren't
even
even
home.
Oh my gosh.
That's one of the best things I've ever heard.
Yeah, I think it was breaking and entering, but we chose not to press
We didn't
charges.
press any charges.
Freaking
Yeah.
Jacobsons put a lock on their dog door. Dang it.
Tried to
We
charge
ought
his
to.
dog.
You
We
guys
just
should
told
put,
the whole
like-
world how to get into our house.
Like a
We
cross.
live in Aiken.
Yeah, right.
We don't live here. We live a couple of towns over.
Des Moines. Okay.
Iowa.
So how was your day, Josh?
My day was really good. Got the kids up this morning, and we did our morning prayer, which I always enjoy. Blessed them, went off to work, and it was a good day. I work in orthopedics as a nurse practitioner. Came home and got the kids off to baseball. Leah picked them up, and I worked on doing some stuff at the little house we're renovating across the road. So yeah, fun, full, productive. So
That's cool.
What is it like getting your kids up for morning prayer? I'm very curious to hear more about this, because I obviously want to copy whatever you do.
yeah.
You might not
So
want to.
it's pretty simple. I'm more of a morning person than Leah, so I usually get up, make my coffee, and take my shower and get ready for work. And before I go to work, the bus comes at 7:40, so I go and I get the kids. I usually wake Leah up first to give her a moment, and then then I go get the kids. And everybody meets downstairs at 7:00 or shortly thereafter, and we just do a simple morning prayer, and we ask if there are any intentions, and sometimes there are, sometimes there aren't. And then I bless them all with holy water, and I head off to work, and they hop on the bus. So
do you
pretty
do
simple.
like morning prayer proper, like morning prayer?
No,
or
no,
just
no,
okay.
no.
I was like,
Just
holy
very short.
cow.
No, it's called the promise prayer. And
Yeah,
it basically is about 15
Yeah,
seconds.
I'm promising dear Jesus. And then sometimes, like during Lent, we usually add things. We did the Angelus during Lent, and it'll change up sometimes as we go through. But
Good. That really, I mean, I was getting really sick to my
Nick
stomach
was
there,
getting really
thinking,
self-conscious is what
No,
was
no, no.
happening.
Wait
no,
a
we
minute.
keep it very, very simple. Just
All right,
make
who's
sure
doing
that
the
they.
antiphon and
Side
Keep
A,
one.
side
Yeah,
B.
side B, so, yeah.
I want
Gosh.
to make sure that my kids remember the day beginning and ending with some form of prayer. And so
Mhm.
we do morning prayer and we do
Night prayer.
night prayer, but it's not
Again,
the liturgy.
it's not from the missal. Yeah, it's not the
We-
liturgy.
sometimes during Advent or Lent or things like that,
We'll do a rosary
we will add
together.
things in or do a rosary, but most of the time we keep it pretty brief.
Yeah.
I there was some article I read just a while back, and I don't remember where I have it. I printed it off somewhere. It was like 2 prayers that every dad should pray with their kids. But the one of them was, and I don't know, I still feel like a new Catholic, but it's just the may Almighty God, the Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit bless you, my child, for time and eternity, and may this blessing remain with you forever. And I don't know where it came from. Yeah, it's great, and it's weird because I did it just like, man, me trying to handle 5 kids, I'm just not up on it. And so like prayer is like the thing that falls to the wayside if you're not intentional. So I started doing it, and I was like maybe 2 months ago. And but like we have Alexa set up through our house because we don't care about the government.
You just probably pinged her. She just like woke up.
Yeah,
she heard her
she
name.
probably did. But Davey can call from he has one by his bed that tells him like nighttime stories, whatever. And he can call me. And if I haven't come down there, it'll start ringing in the whole house. And he'll be like, you can come down and pray or what? And I'm like, oh, okay. All right. So yeah, that kind of keeps me honest. So maybe we'll put in the description below after we can put that, the promise prayer you said it was?
Yeah. It's
yeah.
from the Catholic school, I think, that we went.
Yeah. So it's one that Leah sort of brought in.
Oh.
I'm a convert too. So
We have converts on the show all the time by accident, by the way.
Yeah.
They make the best old fashioned Catholics.
Yeah, they do.
Yeah, that's right. They do.
Young baby Catholics.
They're holding us all together.
Yeah. So then night prayer is a little bit longer, but it's not very long. It's our Father, cool. Glory be, Hail Mary, and then we just pray for our family members.
Act of contrition, and then pretty basic.
You hear their confession and then give them a penance.
Yeah.
And
General absolution.
I've never told them that I can't give them absolution. I just
you don't have the heart to let them know.
They're gonna find it out later and be so mad.
You're gonna find out when you bring out the notebook of everything they ever told you, and you can be like, "Listen, back 2 years ago."
By the way, none of it's been forgiven.
Yeah. By the way, take this notebook to your first confession.
Someone's going to hell, and it's you. So I just that's awesome. Okay, so Kevin, go ahead. You're about to talk.
Well, it makes you think about this because, I've been Catholic my whole life, and I feel like I have, been blessed to learn so much about the faith. But you talked about blessing all of your kids in the morning with holy water. And I wanted to know from the 3 of you, have you guys looked into the idea of parents blessing their children, especially fathers, and like the power that carries? Because for me, it's been within the last couple of years. Yeah. And what that makes me think is that the large majority of Catholic parents have no idea what kind of power they have.
Yeah. That was something Leah kind of came to in spiritual direction a few years ago.
Well, my dad did it as a child. So,
I
mean, I grew up in just a Catholic home, and it was something my dad did at bedtime. He'd bless us with holy water every night, and it was just kind of our bedtime routine. And then I hadn't ever realized the significance of it as a child. And then, he's a convert, so he's never even heard of that,
So it wasn't on my radar. And so she just kind of asked me, this was something my dad did. And it feels like something that's good for a dad to do. And then in spiritual direction, it was. And so I started doing it per her request, which, wives make their husbands holier.
Yeah.
And so, and it's been something that my kids look for now.
Yeah.
If one of them got missed or one of them forgot they got blessed, which is usually the case.
That usually happens.
They were usually the first one and they're still kind of sleepy. And then I'm about to go to work and they're like, Dad, you didn't bless me. I'm like, okay, you'll get another one. Because I'm not going to argue with a 5-year-old at 7:30 when the bus is coming.
Right.
So,
and you keep it simple, right? What are your words of blessing? Because the words are significant too.
Well, maybe we should learn them. Because
maybe we should learn some words, but I just say, may God bless you in the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. And I trace the sign of the cross on their forehead. And
that's what I mean. It's that simple. It's just
I remember
claiming them
in the book Spirit of the Liturgy by Ratzinger before he was Pope Benedict.
Oh my gosh, you guys, side note, I have this I love Pope Emeritus Benedict so much.
Yeah.
I just like,
I know.
I'm like, when he dies, I'm going to sob.
Seriously.
Oh,
Okay, sorry. Go ahead, Nick.
Well, no, he's the
He's a
Pope
gift.
Francis is great.
He's a
But
gift.
I became Catholic under he was my dad. Like he was, and when I always used to joke with people. I think I wanted to I wanted to have an audience with him, but I didn't want to ask him anything. I just wanted to watch The Sandlot with him, just like seriously sit down and just like have some pop and just just
hang out.
watch him watch The Sandlot and not and then be like, all right,
I know what he's like when he's being real.
Yeah. But anyway, Spirit of the Liturgy, he makes a cut. So Spirit of Liturgy is like a really heady book, and it's all like what worship should be, and it's anyway, it's got a whole bunch of deep stuff in it. And then, but multiple times he makes these really personal references that you just don't expect in any way, and they fit, but you just don't expect it from like the Pope, like from this dude who's like, with every sentence, he's like transforming your heart towards Christ. But at one point he talks about the sign of the cross, and he's talking about symbols and signs. But then he just like in this little sentence just says, I remember well as a small child, my mother and father leaning down and tracing the sign of the cross on my forehead when we go on trips. And you get this imagery like of a little boy Ratzinger, looking up at his mom or dad, and his dad just leaning down and like tracing that. And he still remembers that. Like, and it's like in this great deep work is him just talking about remembering his mom and dad just tracing that sign. So that you do that is just amazing. Tomorrow, that starts for me tomorrow. I'm going to do that.
Awesome.
That's the motivation you needed. You needed to be reminded of how awesome it is. And Pope Emeritus Benedict was like, yeah, you should be doing this.
He's just dad kicking our butts again.
Yeah, Kevin, you mentioned that you're just going to cry and bawl when he dies, Pope Emeritus Benedict, and it brought me back, and I want to ask you. We remember when John Paul II died very vividly. We had gone and had our marriage blessed by him early on, and then we were at the Newman House actually, and you were a student there. And I remember that night. I don't know if you were one of the students that came over, but
I came over to your house in the middle of the night. I watched with you.
Like 3:00 in the morning, we all watched his funeral. I thought you were there. I was like, I'm pretty sure I remember you at my basement at the Newman House at like 3 a.m., watching the Holy Father's funeral. And they're just incredibly influential. I mean, you came into the church, Nick, under Benedict. Josh came in under JP2. Mm-hmm. And they are just your father in so many ways. Again,
I think it's so cool because we've talked, I think our first episode was about dads, but just the idea that there was a diminished importance on fatherhood in the past many decades, but there seems to be like a swell of focus coming back in that, like the true, whether it's your biological father or your acting father or your spiritual father in your priest or your pope or whatever. I was even saying, I don't know, Kevin, if we did it in an episode or not, but they recently released the Snyder cut of the Justice League, which is totally superhero. Okay, I didn't say this. Okay, so nope. Okay, and this is just a side note, but it has a point. I promise.
Go for it, Nick.
We're with you, man. We're with you.
We're drinking every time you say superhero.
Okay, okay. I will make sure that. Wait, what's the key word? I want to know. What's the key?
Whatever it is, we're all gonna be drunk.
So, keyword is dad.
Dad. Okay. Oh, then wait up. So it's dad. Is it? Is it dad?
Mm-hmm.
I can't do it.
Okay, so a shorter version of Justice League came out years ago that because Zack Snyder had to leave halfway through it because his daughter committed suicide, and it was really tragic, and he left the picture, but he didn't get to make the one he wanted to. So but fans are really they're really encouraging, and so they started hashtag Snyder Cut, release the Snyder Cut, whatever. And I'm not saying Zack Snyder's perfect or whatever, and I don't say his cut is perfect, but they released one on March 18th, and it was 4 hours long, and it was beautiful. It was wonderful. Like I want 4-hour movies all the time. I would.
Yeah.
I think theaters would make more money because you need more concessions and whatever. It was awesome. It's so long and moving. It's great. But at the resolution of this film, because you have the Justice League, you have all the main characters. By the end of the movie, all of them, the resolution that really ended up mattering was one of dads. I said dad, so you have to drink. But it was the strangest thing, like, because it's not like Snyder cuts out to make like a theological point, but by the end of it, they all have a moment where they are reconciled or encouraged or brought home to who they're supposed to be because of their dad. It's just crazy. It's amazing. It's awesome. So anyway, yeah, just that point of dads really do mattering, and popes really do matter because they are our fathers.
And we've personally together, we've really had an awakening this year to St. Joseph, the role of St. Joseph, this being his year.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
That's been incredibly, impactful and fruitful in our faith life. You led the St. Joseph consecration.
Yeah, we did the St. Joseph consecration, 33 days, and it was more powerful than I expected. Like, I've always had a really healthy respect for St. Joseph's willingness to just quietly support and have no focus on himself, and just be like, I'm putting you in front of me, and I'm just going to make sure that you're safe. I'm going to make sure that I listen to God with all my heart, and that I serve you all the time. And the book just kind of led me deeper into that, and deeper into an appreciation for St. Joseph, and the need to sort of ask for his help, and also think about modeling him as a dad, especially as a husband, especially. When I was even telling Leah, like, when I was a kid, there was that big "What would Jesus do?" movement, and I'm actually like, I can't model Jesus. I can't. But if I think about what would Joseph do, I can't do that either, but I can try. And it makes a little, because Joseph was a father. Joseph didn't mess up that we know about. Joseph, all the big things that he did mattered. And so I've really just gotten a lot of comfort in the fatherhood of St. Joseph, and in the inspiration of being a husband and father.
Did you guys complete the consecration?
We on May 1st, we did it St. Joseph the Worker, because
Okay.
we thought that was a good day to do it. So May 1st we finished.
That's crazy.
It's
That's
good.
awesome. Yeah, I've read the book, and I meant to do it this year with Father Calloway. Like, they started at a certain time and they were leading up to.
Good time. There's plenty of time.
Yeah. I'll get to it.
Yeah, and I have
Don't
to
put
say,
it off, Nick.
No, I'll do it tomorrow.
As a Protestant, consecration didn't make any sense to me.
Yeah.
As a convert, I was like, why? I don't get it. And so, Leah's done consecrations to Mary.
I consecrated him to Mary, I think, twice, and I don't know if you've ever fully done it by yourself.
It's true, and it took a need for St. Joseph's presence, and I needed Mary's presence too. But like, I just, to be a model for me, to have a guide, to just sort of think about how he was and what he did. I definitely need St. Joseph's encouragement and St. Joseph's just kind of example in a way that I didn't understand I needed. And it's already made a difference.
So there's been a lot of focus on St. Joseph this year because of that. And it's funny, there's a lot of YouTube stuff on it, and there's a lot of men who have really come around. So then, Leah, so for me, and a guy, inching closer toward Mary and understanding Mary and her relationship with the church. And for a man, that's going to be a unique relationship with Mary, as mother. So then, Leah, for you, what, if any, thoughts do you have when it comes to your relationship with St. Joseph and learning about him and consecration to him? How has that impacted you then in a different way?
Yeah, no, I think I had a really good, healthy understanding of St. Joseph growing up with my dad, and just how my dad models St. Joseph. My dad is he's very St. Joseph-ish. Like,
in a lot of ways,
he is very much so. He works very hard. He's always used his hands. He's a carpenter. And so we had like a St. Joseph the Worker statue in our house growing up that my brother hit with a basketball and broke. But my mom glued it back together, put it back on the shelf.
Like in Goonies.
So Joseph was a little broken, but we knew he still was strong. He stood strong. So I think for me, it kind of did touch back into that childhood feeling of being like safely protected and feeling like there's someone watching over. So like it reminded me of feeling like a little child going through the St. Joseph, and feeling like my husband now has a greater understanding of what it is to protect me, like in a fatherly role as well as like a spousal role. And Josh has a really unique call as a husband, just with the work that I do. He's played a supporting role behind the scenes for many years. And something about this consecration just really helped to, like, I think for me, recognize how critical that was, because what the work that I do with Guiding Star, the work that I do as a writer, speaker, any of it, it would go nowhere without the foundation to grow upon him. Like it is absolutely 100% his yes that makes my work in any way possible.
Yeah, it's
And
without
Josh,
support. Yeah.
didn't you have a really unique encounter / experience with that when you two were having your marriage blessed by Saint JP2, of that need to just like protect and watch over Leah?
Before.
It was actually before we got our marriage blessed. It was
World Youth Day.
World Youth Day, Toronto. So
We weren't even engaged yet. We were dating.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it was when we were both sort of discerning. And I mean, we were definitely, you know, from the outside, everybody would have guessed, yeah, these two heading towards marriage, but we still hadn't decided that. You know, she was still thinking about the sisterhood. I was actually, as a fresh convert, you have to think about the priesthood. You have to.
You have to. They don't
So
let
I
you
was
not.
You have to. You have to.
Yeah.
Unless you're already
So-
married.
Yeah, exactly. So I
And
was
even
thinking
then, they
about
like
that
try.
too, and you know, just wondering, you know, where's God gonna bring me through all this stuff? And so some guys and I had sat out, and we got there early because we had been reading in the Acts of the Apostle about how they would lay people in the street so that St. Peter's shadow would pass over them. And so we thought about the significance of the chair of St. Peter's shadow. And so JP2 was going to be coming through, and like, we're going to get there early for when he comes through, and we're going to pick a spot where his shadow will pass over us when he comes. So we got there super early.
Like 12 hours
Like,
before they
It
were
was
so
Father
early.
Ben Hadrich at the time wasn't even a seminarian, but he was with, and we got there really super early, and he was thinking there was going to be a ton of people there already. There was no one there. There was us.
It's like
And
it's
that was
empty.
it.
It's like an Air Force field, you know, like
That's
it's just them sitting in the
Huge,
middle.
wide open field, and there we are. I'm like, where are we gonna sit? We figured out where the sun would be and at what time and where the shadow would be and everything. And so we sat there and we waited and we, you know, read some books and we talked. And at the time, nobody had cell phones, so we didn't do that. And as we sat there, people started trickling in, and more people started trickling in. And after a really long time, Leah came with some other people, and we had spots. So they kind of worked their way through, and we were right up at the barricade because the motorcade was going to come right across. And so we were just right there. And as it gets closer and closer to the Pope being there, the people start packing in. You know, you have the people who've been there all day, and then you have the people who came in right at the last minute, and everybody wants to be where we are. And so they're pushing. And so everybody's getting kind of pushed up against the barricade, and Leah's standing right in front of me, and I just kind of have my arms against the barricade. And I didn't think anything of it. I was just standing there. We're getting closer, and the Pope's vehicle is coming through, and the crowd just starts pushing. And still, I don't feel it. It doesn't feel heavy. And I see people around me, but I'm not thinking about it. And everybody's kind of getting pushed against the barricade. And
But I was standing right in between his
I'm
arms.
noticing this, and suddenly I hear somebody down there go, "How come Leah gets so much room?" And I was standing like this, and Leah was in front of me, and nobody was pushing on her.
I was taking pictures. Everybody else was like
So
nearly passing out. Like they
She's
were like,
leaning
they were
out,
being crushed to
taking
death.
pictures.
They were like being crushed to death. I was like,
again,
oh.
It didn't feel heavy. I didn't think anything of it. And they had been pushing for probably a good, I don't know, 30 minutes plus.
Mhm.
And then at the end, they just really, really pushed. And it was this huge push, and it still didn't feel heavy. And then the Pope's vehicle comes past, and his shadow passes over me, and he looks right at me. And at that moment, I just knew, it never made any sense. I had no significance whatsoever. But at that moment, I just knew, this is what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to just stand there. You're supposed to hold things back and let her have some room to work. And that was when I knew I was going to propose to Leah. If I'd have had a ring, I would have done it right there. And
That's awesome.
We got
Within
engaged. 3 weeks later, we
3
got
weeks
engaged.
later, we got engaged when I had scraped enough money to buy a ring. Yeah. And that was when I knew I was supposed to marry Leah. And because I had such a profound experience, I've never had to doubt after that. You know, when times get hard, or I mean, they've never been hard, but when they do,
Yes, don't admit anything. Admit nothing.
Nothing.
when they do, I never doubt that it's right. I never doubt that it's supposed to be. And so it's never all, and I've had a very huge grace through that. just knowing with absolute certainty that this is what I'm supposed to do.
Yeah.
And so St. Joseph really brought that to fruition, because that's exactly what he did to a much higher degree for his whole life.
He
And
held
so-
he held the world off of Mary and Jesus, and like literally protected them from everyone who wanted to hurt them and take them down, you know. And that's exactly what my life, you know, in many ways, like I'll be gone for several days at a time, and I'll leave 7 kids at home with him, and I'll be speaking, and I'll have a terrible review, or somebody will say something super mean, and he's just there to kind of hold the world off of me. When I come home, like home is safe.
Man, I mean, you bring up a really good point too about St. Joseph, Josh, and Leah, where you had said, you feel bad for Protestants in a way, because in order to have a devotion to a saint, especially, St. Joseph and Mary, they are the most important saints in history. They're the 2 most important saints in all of human history.
Yeah.
And they're not really in scripture.
Right.
So in order to learn from them and about them, you have to read between the lines of scripture, which is an incredibly foreign concept unless you're used to it. So for you as a convert, Josh, you said that was completely foreign for you to get that.
Absolutely. So the wealth of tradition, the teaching of the church that's not just from scripture is so beneficial, and just rounds your life out in so many different ways. It's Nick.
No, sorry. Just the fact that in reading the book, and I think I had heard it before at some point or another, but in reading Father Calloway's book, just the fact that there are no spoken words of Joseph in scripture, that and you hear it the first time and you're like, well, no, I mean, he said something. You're like, no, he nothing. He got nothing. And how, like, I think the thing that hit me most, and I don't remember which day it was, but where he talks about how Joseph in their culture would have been the one who taught Jesus the scriptures, and like the first time you sit down to teach the Son of God the Word of God, like just to be like, I'm
going to teach you about yourself.
Yeah. So do you want to go?
And that's
do you want to do it?
And that's you. And that's you. Yeah.
You wrote this, right? You like that was actually one of the in The Chosen. There's a moment where Jesus is talking to John, and they're trying to choose some scripture for Jesus to speak about, some Old Testament scripture. And they have you seen that? Yeah. And I think it's the creation, right? But they end up choosing the creation, and Jesus says, "Ah, yes, that's one of my favorite memories." I was like, so good. So good. Yeah. But anyway, so what I was going to say is, so then for you, Leah, because you've mentioned it a couple of times then, off the foundation of what Josh has been, and then the protector that he has been, and the solidity that he has been, then you've been able to do what you've been able to do, which is amazing. Do you, I mean, obviously not just, do you have a few, what is it that you do right now and have done as a result of
his, yes. Yeah. So, I mean, and knowing you guys from college days is so fun, I guess, in many ways, because you've seen the whole thing like play out. And during that, Kevin, you were a student of ours at Campus Ministry. Nick, I remember you before you even converted. Like, I remember meeting you very first time at Theology on Tap, I think.
Yeah.
And you were
yeah,
the weird
you were at
guy.
the first Catholic event we ever went to. I was the weird guy. Anyway, talk about you. Keep going about you.
Yeah, no, that was great. But obviously, you guys know our background history as campus ministers. Running the Newman House, and that intense love and for young people. And I think I've always known that I was to work with young people in that age group. And so when we left campus ministry, when it wasn't really compatible with our life anymore, when we had 2 toddlers and it was like chaos, and we're living in the Newman House with college students in and out all the time.
Kevin.
Cutting their hair. I think we gave you haircuts, if I recall. Bad ones. But just, it was really clear. I knew, though, there was like, when we left campus ministry, I knew that there was still that call upon my life and our life to serve in some way the young people, and just not knowing what it was. And he, you really gave me that ability to, have a radical yes to whatever God asks. Like, just, okay, like I had the freedom. I knew that I could just follow what God needed me to do and who I was supposed to be. And I think that was hard as a woman in the church in some ways, because there's some really strange expectations. Like as soon as you become a mother or as soon as you become whatever, and like, depending on the mom's group or the church or wherever that you go to, there were a lot of others' expectations kind of placed upon me. Like, well, now you'll stay home. Now you'll do this. Now you'll do that. But he always spoke like kind of just truth, like, but you're not made for that. Like, but you're made for something different. And it was a non-traditional path in many ways. So I founded a nonprofit focused on women's health care. I went back, I got my master's degree when I was pregnant with baby number 5. I defended my master's thesis the day before I gave birth to my 5th baby.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I mean, we were like literally, he was doing graduate school at that point.
I turned in a final paper while she was getting a Pitocin drip started.
We were at the hospital.
No.
Like he's sitting by the window, like, just gonna finish this up. Like, don't push.
She wasn't close to pushing. No, but they were like, okay, we're gonna start the Pitocin now. I'm like, yeah.
You're like, can we wait? Can we wait an hour? It's like, no, we cannot wait. Should have done that last week.
So it's funny because Jason
did not ace that paper.
Jason was scheduled for a C-section the same weekend that I was supposed to do the TOB with Father Mike that we do every year. And I remember Father Mike being like, well, it's scheduled. Can they like just wait a couple days? Nope.
Did she rip his head off?
Nope. Oh, I didn't tell her at the time.
Oh, the man deserves to die.
I could just see Josh like just typing, like, it's fine. It's no big deal. I love you. You're doing great.
He basically was. He's like, the nurse is like, what's he doing?
So there's a longer story to that. We were on the way to the hospital and the kids were at Leah's mom's and dad's.
I was just going for a checkup.
She was just going
for I was like checkup. 39 weeks.
And so she's 39 weeks and she's like, I'm going to ask her to induce me today. And I'm like, but I got, we got like a week.
I was like, I'm really done. I'm really just done.
I have stuff I have to turn in like today. And she's like, yeah, today.
I'm like, I'm pretty done. Okay, I want to be done.
So I'm gonna get a C at best. Okay. So I just hurried up and finished stuff, and I was done 12 hours before birth. It was okay.
I think that's kind of been like we've been very active. Like, we've never seen children as a barrier to like living life and like chasing dreams and doing things, and so we've said yes to a lot of things that most people are like, what were you thinking? Like, what are you doing? Some of them were probably really stupid, but I mean, we kind of just, we stay active. And I think together, like, that's one of the things that we bond the most over is like projects and doing things and school and children. And so,
yeah, it's having kids and doing stuff with those kids and, just kind of trying to find a balance, I guess.
Yeah.
So Leah, you founded a nonprofit.
Yeah.
Just so people can know, we'll put the links to all your stuff down below.
Well, I forgot the name on our Zoom account. I'm sorry. It's actually Guiding Star on here, which is funny because that's the name of my nonprofit. This is evidently my Zoom business account I must have been signed in on, but so it's a women's healthcare organization. And that was the thing that I had found the most troubling in campus ministry is working with young women that knew nothing about their fertility or their God-given beautiful body. And so that's what I did. My master's is women's health and wellness. And I'm a lactation consultant and he's a nurse practitioner. And so we're kind of in the medical realm. And so my nonprofit's based on opening up healthcare centers that really speak truth to women. In women's health, we don't hear much about how good your fertility and your cycle and how there's just an assumption, I think, too, about men, a really negative assumption that, that you guys aren't capable of understanding or working with your wives, or that you just are absolute beasts or something. I don't know. And so like the work we do is really just saying like humans can be elevated to a different level when it comes to our fertility.
Well, and she's doing more than that. She's kind of selling herself short a little bit. She's trying to promote JP2's call to a new feminism. And that's a big part of what drives Guiding Star. That's what
I love JP2.
She does. And so he called for it and she answered. And so she's trying to promote new feminism because there were places where it went wrong and places where it could have gone more right. And so that's part of what Guiding Star does, is try to promote authentic femininity and what that means and what that looks like and how beautiful it is.
Well, and Leah, you were the first person I ever heard just clearly delineate, like just saying like women are told that you have to have either or, and it's just such a lie that you can just be, you can do all the things and not have to like rid your womb. You know what I mean? Like you can do them all. I think you were the first person that clearly said that out loud, is just that no, you don't have to, forsake children to be a professional, and you don't have to it's a different walk and it's difficult.
The caveat though, Nick, is it depends on you guys,
Right,
because we can't unless you guys cooperate, because you can't have it all if your partner is selfish. You can't have it all if he's not willing. And so that's, always the caveat that we live in a really broken culture. And I have a lot of women reach out to me and they're like, why do you say that? Like, that's not fair to say. Like I'm trying everything and I can't have it all. And it's because of lifestyle choices. Like if you follow the formula that the church has given us, if you wait to marriage, if you don't use contraception, if you follow the formula as it's set out for us, it is really beautiful and natural and true. And it's really fulfilling, and it brings authenticity and joy to your life. Like you're not pretending, you're not covering anything up. Like you're just living and embracing life fully. But you have to have a partner who's there. Like I can only have it all because I have a husband.
Right.
Both people need to be invested in what's going on. Like, turns out it takes a real marriage. Like,
you can't compete with each other for your own selfish thing. Like you have to be on board with each other's goals.
And that's the thing, is it's having it all looks different for everybody. Not everybody's called to write a book, or not everybody's called to have a career. Not everybody's called to provide stuff for the bake sale. You don't do that.
I don't do that. I'm so bad.
Examples of what people feel pressured to do, because the idea of having it all means you have to meet everybody's standard in everybody's way. And you don't. You have to listen to God about what he wants you to become, and become that. Because the more holy you become, the more you listen to God, the more individual you become. Less like everybody else, more like you. And so your having it all is going to look different than others.
There was a time when we lived in China, and we were virtually newlyweds when we moved there, and things got really rough in our marriage, and depression. Like I almost jumped out a window at one point. It was crazy bad. But when things started to get better, I remember there was a moment where we were sitting at this restaurant in the city we lived in, and I don't know how eating puppy. It's different. We were
so tender.
I did eat dog. I know,
that's why I said it.
I would happily eat a dog.
It tastes like dog food, like you expect dog food to taste. That's what I would say. Like there was a place where we bought our pet dog in China. The pet shop shared a wall with a restaurant where you could order animals from next door. So you could either get a pet or a meal. And so it was the best. It was the greatest. And I remember asking Jacelyn, hey, like when we're done with this, when we move back to America, can I eat Jack? Can I eat our dog? And she wouldn't let me. So, so we were sitting at this restaurant, and I think it was the first time ever. Again, we didn't have, I don't know, any of the benefit that a fervent Catholic family would have of understanding sacramentality of marriage, like matrimony. But there was a moment where we both realized, like, wait a minute. I think I'm here to help your dreams come true, your career goals come true. And Jason was like, and I think I'm here to help yours come true. And for the first time, we weren't like on opposite sides of a fence. And I think that's kind of the way a lot of people view even a marriage relationship, is that like, yeah, but I still have my goals. We're in it together, but only kind of. But it seems like you guys then, you're both professionals and you're both excelling in your profession. At the same time, though, you're both constantly giving credit to each other for your sacrifices and whatnot, and have enabled either of you to do what you've done.
I think we've had to learn to take turns. Like there's moments where it's like all hands on deck. So you graduate, all hands on deck. Like I'm launching my first ever book right now. And so we're the whole family, like everybody is kind of like, okay, what do you need to do for your book launch? Like, do you need to go work on that? And so you kind of have the family project.
Yeah, you kind of have to make room for each other when you need it, and try to
And that's
respect-
beautiful.
Yeah.
Oh,
It
that's
is.
just, I mean, it is beautiful. And I think about all three of us here, you know, it's a really good point to know that you can do anything as a couple and as a family. We can't do everything. Like, we all agree that you can't do everything. That's kind of the point. But when I look at our three windows here, I see, okay, wife runs nonprofit, husband's full-time work, 7 kids. And then I see over here, stay-at-home dad, full-time working mom. And then I see our situation, working towards stay-at-home mom, full-time working dad. It's like they're all legitimate equally.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, yeah, I think obviously what I talk about with women is, I mean, there's some biological realities that a woman's body are very obviously like needed and necessary for like the healthy growth and formation of a child. And so I think that it is important for us as women to understand and recognize God ordained this, you know, in a way that your child should be close to you for a period of time, like that secure attachment, that like finding the world, like orienting themselves to up and down. Like a mom is a really critical person in that relationship, but it never
And irreplaceable.
And irreplaceable. Yeah. I mean, so biologically, I think we can't just throw out our bodies. It's really important for women and men to recognize that our bodies, you know, men don't have a recovery period after a new baby is born. They can go right, you know, they don't have to like take it slow. Like he's pretty fine. He doesn't really.
I need a nap.
Yeah. One nap and you're good.
But I mean, our bodies really can guide us. And if we're paying attention, you know, I'm a lactation consultant. So you always refer to it as the mother and baby dyad. It's a dyad, like they're a package deal. And they are that way for the duration of a breastfeeding relationship. And so there's something really important about that just as you were pregnant and you were the only one that could care for them, as you're still feeding them and nurturing them, there is a right order to moms having, you know, a more active role with their baby. But that doesn't mean that dad doesn't have a role. Like he absolutely has a role. Like how it works for us is that when the baby cries at night, I push him out of bed and he goes and gets the baby and brings it to me. And then when the baby's done, I push him out of bed and then he takes the baby and puts it back. Like,
sounds about right.
He has a role. It's very important.
Don't always remember doing my role, but
you've been doing okay at it apparently.
7 babies later.
Strangely familiar.
We've all gotten through the critical period anyways.
Mm-hmm.
No, that's beautiful.
Man, that's just beautiful.
Yeah, good. I said beautiful, then you said beautiful.
And I said beautiful. We were thinking the same thing, man. I'm just having just feels and thoughts of beautifulness.
Well, no, that's the thing. It's just so crazy. Like, because like Kevin pointed out, we're in different states. Like I was even laughing. Like I'm a stay-at-home dad. Like I stay at home, and during the day, because we're keeping Christian at home, there's 3 kids here, a 15-year-old and a 1-year-old and a 4-year-old. And I have no grounds to complain about anything. Like it's fine. Jacelyn sees 19 needy people a day, like as a doctor. And Josh, you understand. So like, so what is so compelling about you guys' story is that like it's not that one of you is a stay at home. You both are doing what God has called you to, but because you're so like in it, and even something you had said, Leah, just the fact that everybody approaches children and family life and the stresses of it, because nobody is saying it's not stressful. I mean, I can't imagine the chaos level that you guys have, but the problem is everybody sees that. They just see like, oh, it'd be so crazy or it'd be so busy. Or I don't even know how you would do it.
And they stop there.
And they stop. It's just like, and then you guys didn't. And so like you live as this example of like, yeah, I mean, but you don't have to stop. You can just keep going. You can just say yes. Like you said, like just say yes. You say yes to each other. You say yes to family. You say yes to apparently endless children. You say yes to all these opportunities. And Leah, I know like you've spoken on stuff before, and you travel around like crazy, and you can do all those things when you say yes to God. That's
only
just
because of him. Like only because of him though.
Well, and you can do all those things if you're being asked to. Those aren't things that you should.
That's important, Josh.
Because you want to do them. It's things that if you're being called to, you respond to, but you don't do them if you're not being called to it. That would be silly.
Yeah.
And I'm glad we're not, because I don't want to do that. I don't want to do what you guys are doing. I'm not interested in it.
Yeah. And you wouldn't you wouldn't be interested if you weren't being called to it. I mean, God puts a desire in your heart, and it's just your job to say yes to his true, authentic call to you.
Yeah, and that's the thing, like the call for Guiding Star and the call for the work that I do, I had the call. Like it was strongly placed upon my heart, and it was like I was miserable not doing it. Like if I didn't do it, and there were times where I was like, I took all the voices from the world. I was like, this is crazy. I have 4 little kids right now, or 5 little. Like, what am I doing? This is crazy. I'm irresponsible. Like I was taking the outside voices saying that's not what you should do, but yet like because it was God's call for me, it was misery not doing it. And so it took him, a little bit of time he didn't have the call though. He had to trust me. He had to trust that that's what God was saying to me. And that's hard, I think, for a lot of husbands and wives too,
Yeah, I think the challenge was just remembering, no, this is something, and trusting, saying this really is something she said, like, because I never had that call. It didn't make a ton of sense to me, but she was so convicted.
He had the call that he needed though, which was that he knew he was supposed to hold the world off of me.
Yeah, well, and actually she didn't get that call necessarily, the call to marriage as much as I did. So there were times when we were engaged where she was like,
I gave the ring back.
I don't know if this is right.
Like, yeah, we were young. We were like 21.
Get in the kitchen. No, that's not
I was so scared though. I was so scared. I thought we're way too young. This is insane. But yet he was the critical piece for me to live out my call.
So when God gives one certainty and the other has to just trust that they are certain. And
you guys sound like right now, you sound like Mary and Joseph describing what went on. I mean, no. You are way bigger sinners than they are.
Do you want to tell us? You want us to tell you something like horribly wrong? I mean,
I have a story that I will tell about you guys.
What you're saying right now is a type. It's a type of Mary getting the call and Joseph just having that literally happened.
Oh, you're right.
That literally just happened in scripture. Where it's like, this is Mary. This is all being thrown on Mary, and Joseph has to figure out if he's going to trust this or ditch her.
Oh,
that's beautiful, man.
Well, I'm glad you didn't ditch me.
We were already married when you got the calls.
How do you know?
Joseph had much more freedom.
Yeah, they were only betrothed.
He still did the right thing. So
Josh is like, I thought about it. Come on, I just couldn't find a way out. Seriously,
it was that pretty whole being ostracized thing. I really like her family.
No, but even Father Calloway talks about it, and a lot of people have, how like when Christopher West talked about that a lot, where when God approaches Mary, generally it was like, here's what's going to happen to you. Here's like, and Mary's response was like, yeah, let it be done to me. But when God approaches Joseph, it's always like, here's what you're going to do. And it's so crazy because then you hear like Joseph, the angel appears in the night and he gets them up in the middle of the night and was like, let's go. We're going to Egypt. Let's get our stuff on and go. And that was all because of what had first happened to Mary, the insane calling that Mary had. And so, Kevin, you're right. They're just living that out.
It's a type.
It's a type.
Never thought of that, Kevin.
But you can't start. Leah, you can't start going around at your talks being like, so we're kind of like Mary and Joseph.
Nope, never gonna say that.
I can say that. You guys can't.
Yeah.
Okay.
The other thing
Agreed.
is, and I'm sure this can be cut out if it's untrue or not supposed to.
Oh no! What are you gonna
say? Do your worst.
This is. So I don't remember details really well, and so this is a story that I tell. Not all the time, but I've told multiple times over the years with no names like at all.
Oh no, you're talking about us.
Yeah. Oh yeah. But just this story, not the good stuff.
I want to hear what it is.
Just wasn't there a point at some point, Leah, where you gathered your kids in the car and drove to Brainerd and dropped them off and said, I'll be back in a couple days, and you left them with like yes, there was like a sister or a relative of some kind. You guys lived in Duluth. And because it was you telling it, you had like a wretched day and you were like, you know what? I got it. Get in the car. And they got in a car and you drove. Do you have a relative in Brainerd area?
My sister.
Okay. It was your sister. Yeah.
Well, north of Brainerd.
Yeah. And you drove there and you pulled up and she was like,
memory.
No, yeah. Because you told
possible.
Jason and I have talked about it.
Well, we get rid of them every time I have a baby. That's like my favorite part.
No, you were saying the way you told it, you were like, it hit a peak. I don't remember how many
Mhm.
kids you guys had at the time, but you were just
Well,
like,
I remember number 4 in under 5 years was like, that is
Yeah.
the point where I had to like
Mhm.
truly say like, Lord, are you a good God? Because seriously, right now, good God, this is like
Yeah.
insane. Like I
Yeah.
had that moment of like, do you really love us? Like, do you really see us right now? Like, this is hard.
And that's where we realized the importance of family, and that was what prompted our move.
We did move
actually,
closer to home at that
closer
point.
to family, because
Yeah.
we needed help. We really did, and there was a period there.
Yeah, with
Interestingly, it
4
was
kids under 5, I felt
it
like I
was-
might lose it.
right around the time Leah really started getting a strong call
Yeah.
to do Guiding Star
Yeah.
and start being active, and so there was definitely an opportunity to doubt: is this really that, or is it a
To escape
is it a
isn't
way
an
to
escape. That was the
And
big
so-
pondering moment.
So both of us would have those doubts, yeah. But I mean, there were times when it was just like, yeah, we need help. And
Yeah.
I
It's
don't
a
remember
very-
that instance specifically,
It's
but I can sure remember
possible.
some that it probably could have happened.
But honestly, I feel like that whole like time period is really foggy because
Yes.
like
It
It was-
is.
it's
I
so
bet,
foggy
yeah.
when you have that many children that young.
so you can decide if you want it cut or not. But I remember you talking about a day
If
when
it
you were
gives
like,
somebody else a hope, like that they can come through this dark
Or
tunnel.
permission to ask for help, because
Yeah.
you need. There
Right.
are times. when
That's
you
the point. I mean, that's the
absolutely-
thread there.
Yeah. If you need
It's-
to, yeah.
It's not to say that it's a bad life; it's a wonderful life. But there'll be times when you can't do it,
Yeah.
and you need help.
You need a
And-
village.
And I mean, you guys, all throughout human history, that help existed.
like
I mean,
it was
this
natural.
Is, this
it
is
was
a
just
unique
within.
time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
This is very unnatural the way we're
to live
raising
states
children.
away and everything else. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
Well, because
Yeah. And so
you
when
were-
we left Duluth, we found a small town with a strong Catholic community. We have amazing Catholic friends here with many children that just, yesterday stupid scheduling. I'm coaching track right now. And I realized that
'Cause
like,
she needed something else to
because
do.
I need something
Yeah,
else to do.
idiot.
No, but I realized at like 11 o'clock that I'm leaving for a track meet at 1:15 and I've got my baby. I was like, she can't come. And so, I mean, like just on a whim, I call a friend. She comes and picks her up like after mass. She's like, I'm going to need mass. I'll pick her up and take her home for like 7 hours. And so to have that support network, like we wouldn't survive without it still, because I'm still kind of a mess.
I'm laughing because of the awesomeness of
Yeah.
that. I just,
Yeah.
ah,
Because it would be the type of person who goes to daily mass at noon who could be like, yeah, I'll take your kid for 7 hours.
Yeah, I'll pick her up.
Yeah.
Just pack
I mean,
some
but, like,
diapers.
I mean, what you guys are describing is not going to be, that crazy to a lot of people who are listening to this or watching this, but
No.
that is completely foreign
Yeah.
to 99% of our nation.
Yeah.
And
Yep.
like the whole concept and the way you guys live your lives is just otherworldly.
It's sad. I mean, I think I
Yeah.
think people need community, they need family, they need spousal support. Like,
Well, it was Crosby where, not that you guys live in Crosby.
No, we don't
you've-
actually.
You have heard of the city. But I was
It's true, we
speaking,
don't live in Crosby.
yeah, I was speaking there one time, and before the talk, I was out in the front, and there's a glass case, and there's a newspaper clipping. I don't know if it's still there, but it was a newspaper clipping of like years and years and years ago, and it showed like a little sketch drawing of the church there, and the little statement was just that the town of Crosby grew up around that church. So that church was like the focal point of growing a city, and I think that's just so far into everything that the church community would be that important, that the family unit would be that important, but that family unit would be immersed in other family units that were all truly actually there for each other. Like that's such a rare thing that people, they don't believe it exists. They don't, unless they see
Yeah.
it, unless they
and we're
see
not
someone
in
else.
like
true.
we're not even in like the homeschooling community. Like
Right.
our
Yeah.
kids go to public school. Like we're not even in the like really
Yeah.
tight network of our church, but like it still is just an incredibly family friendly
It's
parish.
a beautiful place. Yeah.
Oh wait, your kids go to public school?
It
All right,
is.
we gotta close out here. Yeah, I think we're done.
Sorry,
Gotta
ladies and
cut
gentlemen.
that.
Sorry.
Yeah, heathens.
Yeah. So when we moved here, it was apparent right away that it was a good place for us because we had been, overwhelmed with 4 kids. And a lot of that was due in part to societal pressure. I mean, Leah would be in the grocery store with our 4 kids.
In
and
Duluth.
people would come up to her and say, "You have too many kids."
Some
They would
ladies.
just say that point blank. Don't know her, never met her. Walk up, "You have too many kids."
Yeah. I was like, what do you
And,
want me to do?
Things like that would happen all the time. One lady
Which
asked
one
if
should I kill?
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
I know.
Which one do you think we should get rid of? And then somebody else just assumed, and they walked right up to her and said, "How many dads?" in the grocery
Yes,
store.
that was a weird one.
Yeah.
Are they all the same father? I was like, yes. And we're married
So
still.
yeah, and then we move here, and one of the first people we meet is at our parish, and he says, "Oh, how many kids do you have?" And we said 4. He goes, 4. Oh, that's a good start. And
he walked away. And I remember him walking away, and I was just like, who was that man?
We need to know him.
And then we realized he had 12.
He
So
did.
we were like, oh.
Is he still there? Is he still right there at the
Oh,
church?
yeah.
He's amazing.
Wow.
So you
That's
find these
wonderful.
little communities, and they just feed you. They just they make everything so much.
Yeah, and that can be
better.
a pocket in a big community too. I mean, it's the faithful people live everywhere.
You
Yes.
do.
You have to find where you're supposed to be with them.
Well, and
I mean, those are the families that are going to hold up the church. I mean, I truly believe over the next 10 years that it's going to get worse, and it's going to be the families that are praying daily together and faithful to God that are going to hold things up in whatever. I have no idea what that's going to look like.
Sure.
But I think that's coming. I think that's true.
So,
Just my opinion.
first of all, Leah, what's the name of your book?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, this is exciting. Holistic feminism, like whole with a W, whole.
Okay.
Like how to be a whole person, but
Okay.
also
So
like,
she misspells the word holistic for
Yep.
her book, just so everyone's clear.
Just so
on
you know.
purpose.
On
Holistic
purpose.
feminism. Yeah.
Okay. Holistic feminism.
We will
And when-
link that as well.
when
When's
is it
gonna?
available?
Oh wait, it's not out yet.
It'll be available in June. So it's a pre-sale start the end, like beginning of June, and it's
So
available.
maybe we'll be able to link it on this video. After the video's up, we can add it.
You could send like a pre-link too, like a can we pre-order it?
Pre-sales start. I think they'll be out by June 1st. Pre-sales.
Could
There
I
we
could I
go.
leak the manuscript and just give it away? No, I'm just kidding.
You could.
yeah. So there's that, and then there's also just an encouragement to everybody watching. Just even for me, like the fact that you can, in a quick manner, pray with your kids at the beginning and the end of each day. That's huge. I've been struggling to find a way to do that, and I've been mentioning it out loud to my kids. Like, gosh, we got to pray together. And I feel like my kids are like, yeah, you do it. Like,
But Dad,
We'll send you the script of the promise prayer. It's it's a rhyme, and
you have to
takes
send it
15
tonight
seconds.
because he said this starts tomorrow.
Yeah, it starts
I'll send
tomorrow.
it. I'll email it over
As soon as
right
we hang
now.
up, you can text it to
11:30
me.
p.m.
And then the last thing is, and I didn't warn you on this, is that we make all of our guests do the toast to close out the episode.
I don't have anything left. I drank it all.
You should have second drink in there, like Pam says, from your ice. Oh no, you have nothing.
There we go.
Look at
There you
that.
go.
Look at
No
that,
more
husband.
passion.
So either one of you can make the toast, or I'm sure you guys have something that you do in unison. Like
Or
every
you
time
can
we
each
toast,
say something, and we
there
will
you go.
toast it.
There you go.
So what do we do? I'll let him toast.
Make a toast.
You make a toast to something serious or funny.
Or
Doesn't
funny.
matter to us.
I don't know if I've ever made a toast before.
Go for it.
This is my first toast.
Go for it.
This is
So I
so
can make
amazing.
a toast to toasting, and all that it means, and how that it brings people together. I toast you guys and what you're doing, and I pray that it will be successful.
I toast your wives
I
because
toast your wives.
they're what's making all this possible. So
Cheers.
Cheers.
and Jason.
All
There
right.
you go.